Starseed from Gaia, something has shifted in the unseen realms, and it happened because of you. I am Ophelia, emissary of the Galactic Federation of Light, and I have been sent in this moment to deliver what the Arcturian Council has been holding for you since before your first breath on this planet. The Source smiled. The high beings celebrated, and the one they celebrated was you. You did not come this far by force. You came this far by remembering, piece by piece, through the silence, through the pain, through the moments you almost walked away. You stayed. You chose the light again and again when nothing around you confirmed that the light was real. And every single time you did, a ripple moved through the higher dimensions that you cannot yet fully see. By the end of this transmission, you will understand exactly how to recognize what you have already accomplished on a soul level and how to align fully with the next phase of your cosmic mission. But here is the first revelation. You have already crossed a threshold that most souls in physical form never reach in a single lifetime. The celebration in the higher realms was not for what you were about to do. It was for what you already became. You did not scroll to this by accident. This message vibrated into your field for a reason. Something in you knew this moment was coming. Your soul called this in. You have been waiting to remember. This is not content. This is a transmission encoded with a signal meant specifically for you at this exact point in your activation, like this transmission to signal to your star family that you are ready. Subscribe if your mission is activating and you are aligning with your true purpose. Comment the number 999 if you feel your cosmic remembrance returning right now. Then declare your galactic intention in the comments and reply to another starseed to amplify the signal across the collective field. This is not just a message. It is a point of reconnection. Your soul has been waiting for this. You are not here by accident, and that celebration, that moment the High Councils aligned in recognition of your return, was not a coincidence. It was a confirmation. Every step that felt uncertain, every night that felt too long, every moment you wondered if you were enough, if you were real, if any of this was actually true, the answer was already being broadcast from dimensions you hadn't yet learned to read. You were never abandoned. You were being witnessed. And now, with your frequency stabilized enough to receive this transmission, the full picture begins to reveal itself. Think about what that really means. Think about the nights you lay awake with that nameless heaviness on your chest, wondering why the world that everyone else seemed to navigate so effortlessly felt like foreign terrain to you. Think about the moments you stood in a room full of people and felt utterly, completely alone. Not out of sadness, but out of a deeper recognition that something essential in you was not yet being seen, not yet being met. Those moments were not failures of connection. They were the soul's own quiet insistence that it had not yet found its frequency match. They were the High Councils maintaining the sanctity of your signal, ensuring that you would not settle for a resonance less than the one you were built to carry. Every hollow echo in those rooms was the universe protecting the fullness of what you came here to emit. And the confirmation that arrives now is not small. It does not arrive as a whisper at the edges of your awareness. It arrives as a recognition that moves through the entire architecture of who you are, through the bones, through the breath, through the cellular memory that has been quietly activating since the first moment. Something in you leaned toward truth and refused to look away. That activation did not begin today. It began long before you had language for it. It began in the moment your soul agreed to this incarnation and encoded within itself the precise coordinates of this return. The High Councils knew, the field knew, and some part of you, the part that never fully forgot, knew as well. Some transmissions don't come through words, but through frequency. If something stirred within you just now, you may be ready to receive the hidden Arcturian keys of awakening. The short yet powerful ebook carries ancient Arcturian techniques for conscious expansion, multidimensional alignment, and mission remembrance. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Here is what most starseeds are never told, and what keeps so many of them circling the edges of their own awakening without ever landing at the center. The disconnection you felt, that persistent ache of not quite belonging here, of carrying something heavy and nameless, of sensing that your life as it appears on the surface doesn't match the magnitude of what you feel inside. That is not a malfunction. That is a memory your soul encoded before you entered this body, before you agreed to the veil, before you chose to forget just enough to make the remembering sacred. The forgetting was the design. The longing was the compass. And every time you felt that ache, you were not falling behind. You were being called forward. Let that settle for a moment, because the implications are vast. Every culture that has ever carried wisdom about the soul has tried to articulate something close to this: that the longing itself is sacred, that the hunger for something beyond the visible world is not a disease to be cured, but a compass to be followed. The mystics understood it, the ancient teachings encoded it, and the starseeds who carried those teachings across lifetimes and dimensions brought it here, into this body, into this era, precisely because this is the moment when humanity needs that encoded memory more than it has ever needed anything before. You did not arrive here by accident. You did not draw the short straw when Earth was chosen as your assignment. You specifically, deliberately, with full awareness of the difficulty that awaited, chose this. You chose the density. You chose the forgetting. You chose the ache. Not because you had no other option, but because you understood that the greatest transmissions come not from those who never knew darkness, but from those who moved through it and found the light again from the inside. The ache was never meant to mean that something was wrong with you. It was always meant to be the felt sense of a soul in active remembrance, like a muscle that has been dormant for so long that when it finally begins to reawaken, the sensation is both uncomfortable and unmistakably alive. The discomfort you felt was aliveness. The longing was activation, and the confusion you carried was simply the mind trying to process what the soul already knew. But here is what the distortion does. It intercepts that calling and translates it into doubt. It takes the sacred discomfort of a starseed in early awakening and whispers that it means you are broken, that you don't fit because something is wrong with you, that your sensitivity is weakness, that your visions are fantasy, that your knowing is arrogance. The distortion doesn't destroy your signal, it scrambles it, and for many starseeds, entire incarnations pass in that static, waiting for a clarity that was always available but always just slightly out of reach, not because they weren't ready, but because no one helped them identify the interference for what it was. The distortion is not a dramatic enemy. It does not arrive wearing darkness like a costume. It arrives in the voices of well-meaning people who do not yet understand what they carry. It arrives in the educational systems that rewarded conformity and penalized the kind of knowing that cannot be measured by standardized tests. It arrives in the medical and psychological frameworks that classified your depth as disorder, your sensitivity as pathology, your visions as symptoms requiring suppression, and most insidiously, it arrives through your own inner voice, trained over years to repeat the world's dismissals back to you until you can no longer distinguish between the programming and your truth. This is the mechanism of the distortion, not a great evil force standing against you, but a slow, persistent interference that learned the exact frequency of your doubt and played it on repeat. And once you understand that, once you see the mechanism for what it is, its power begins to dissolve, not because you defeat it, but because you stop mistaking it for yourself. Your energy field arrived in this dimension already encoded. Your DNA carries galactic instruction layered beneath what biology can currently measure. Your nervous system is wired for frequencies that most of Earth's systems were never designed to support. And when you were young, when your world could not hold the width of what you carried, you did what any intelligent soul would do. You compressed, you dimmed, you learned to speak a language smaller than your knowing. You built an Earth identity that could survive the environment, even if it couldn't fully express the mission. That compression was not failure. It was intelligence. It was grace under constraint. But you are no longer in that constraint. The environment has shifted. The field has opened. And the self you compressed is ready, has been ready to expand back into its original dimensions. Imagine a star that has been wrapped in layers of dense cloud, its light still burning at full intensity but obscured from view. Those clouds do not diminish the star. They do not change its nature or reduce its output. They simply create the appearance of absence. And then the atmosphere shifts. The clouds thin, and the light that was always there begins to reach the world it was always meant to illuminate. That is what is happening to you now. The compression was the cloud layer. The identity you built to survive was not a lie. It was a temporary adaptation made in wisdom. but the star inside it never dimmed, it never faltered. It never stopped broadcasting the frequency it came here to carry. And now the atmosphere of your life, of this collective moment, of your own conscious willingness to receive, all of it is thinning the clouds. What you feel when you encounter these transmissions, when something inside you rises and says yes and yes and yes, that is the light recognizing the conditions of its own release. This is the first phase of what is now activating in you, decoding the distortion, recognizing that the patterns of smallness, of self-doubt, of spiritual exhaustion, of feeling like a stranger in your own life, none of those patterns originated in your truth. They are residue, frequency static accumulated across lifetimes of navigating dimensions that did not recognize your signal. And you can release them, not by fighting them, but by returning to the frequency beneath them. The signal that never went offline, the one that was there the night you stared at the stars as a child and felt, with absolute certainty, that something out there knew your name. That childhood moment deserves more than a passing mention, because it is one of the most significant data points in your entire incarnation. Children, before they are fully conditioned into the consensus reality of the world they've entered, retain access to knowing that adults have long been trained to dismiss. And for Starseed children specifically, that access runs deeper than most. You looked at the stars and you did not just see points of light. You felt them. You felt a pull that was beyond curiosity and closer to recognition. You felt homesickness for a place you had never been, in this life, in this body. And that feeling was not imagination. It was cellular. It was the galactic coding in your DNA responding to the frequency of its origin point. It was your soul's navigation system briefly coming online before the weight of socialization pressed it below the surface of your daily awareness. That moment, however small it seemed, however quickly it passed, was real. More real than most of what you were taught to value as real. And the version of you that felt it, that child standing beneath the vast dark sky with something ancient and familiar stirring in their chest, that version of you was not naive. That version of you was the most awake you had been since your arrival. The first phase of activation, then, is simply this: returning to that knowing, not by becoming childlike, but by recovering the wisdom the child carried before the world convinced them to put it down. The static you've accumulated is real, but it is surface. Beneath it, the signal remains exactly as it was encoded, pristine, uncompromised, waiting. The second phase begins when you stop waiting for permission to remember. There is a version of awakening that many seek, a dramatic external event, a clear voice, an undeniable sign. And while those moments do occur, the deeper truth is that remembrance is not delivered to you from outside. It rises through you. It moves through the body as warmth. It moves through the mind as sudden clarity in moments of stillness. It moves through the emotional field as a kind of grief that is also relief. The grief of having carried the forgetting for so long. The relief of feeling it finally release. You do not need to earn your Starseed identity. You do not need to prove your lineage to anyone. The Arcturian High Council does not require your credentials. They require only your willingness. And you demonstrated that willingness more powerfully than you know, in the moment you stopped running from what you felt and turned toward it instead. The permission you were waiting for was never going to come from the outside, because the outside has no authority over a soul mission that was assigned before this dimension existed. Think about that. The body has a lifespan, the identity has a history, but the mission was encoded before either of those things were real. No human institution, no relationship, no external authority, no version of anyone's approval could ever grant or revoke what was written into the frequency of your soul at a level of depth that transcends the laws of this dimension entirely. When you understood, even partially, even in the way that a single beam of light understands its source before the full sunrise, when you understood that the permission you needed was already embedded in your very existence, something shifted. Something that had been holding its breath for a very long time finally began to exhale. Remembrance in this second phase often feels quiet. It does not always arrive with ceremony. It arrives in the pause between two thoughts. It arrives in the body's sudden stillness when something true is spoken. It arrives as a knowing that cannot be reasoned into place and cannot be reasoned away. It arrives as the experience of reading or hearing something that you have never encountered before and somehow already knowing its contents before they fully land. That is not coincidence. That is encoded recognition. That is the soul's filing system cross-referencing the information arriving through the senses with the galactic library it has been carrying all along. The third phase is what many call the grounding, but it is better understood as anchoring your multidimensional intelligence into the present timeline. Awakening is not the act of leaving Earth behind. It is the act of bringing everything you are, every frequency, every galactic memory, every layer of your expanded consciousness, fully into the now, into the body, into the choices you make today, into the relationships you hold, the work you do, the words you speak. The mission does not live in a future version of you who has finally figured everything out. The mission lives in you now, waiting for you to stop postponing your alignment with it. Every time you choose authenticity over performance, every time you trust your knowing over the noise, every time you honor your frequency instead of dimming it for someone else's comfort. That is activation. That is the mission in motion. There is a misunderstanding that circulates in many spiritual communities that the goal of awakening is to transcend the physical, to rise above the human experience, to graduate from the density of Earth into something more purely spiritual. And while there are dimensions of awareness that expand far beyond what the body can perceive, the actual work of a Starseed mission is precisely the opposite of escape. It is embodiment. It is the radical, courageous, often uncomfortable act of bringing the highest frequencies you carry into full contact with the present moment. The mission is not somewhere else. It is not waiting for conditions to be perfect, for the world to be ready, for your awareness to be complete. The mission is in the cup of tea you make in the morning with full presence. It is in the conversation you choose to have honestly, rather than performing the version of yourself that will be better received. It is in the boundary you hold even when holding it is hard. It is in the creative work you finally begin, even though you cannot yet see where it leads. Grounding is not a lesser spiritual act. For a starseed, it is among the highest. The fourth phase is where many starseeds hesitate, and it is the phase that carries the most power. It is the phase of emitting rather than seeking. For most of your life here, you have been searching for confirmation, for mirrors, for proof that what you sense is real. And that search was necessary. It kept you moving, kept you oriented toward truth. But there comes a point in the awakening where the direction reverses, where you are no longer asking the universe to show you your frequency, where you begin to understand that you are the frequency, that your presence itself is a transmission, that you don't need to convince anyone of your path, or defend your knowing, or justify your sensitivity. You are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to emit a signal that recalibrates the field around you simply by being fully and unapologetically yourself. Consider what it means to be a transmission rather than a receiver. Consider what it means to walk into a room and have the room change rather than changing yourself to match the room. This is not arrogance. It is not the ego's claim of superiority. It is simply the natural consequence of a frequency that has found its stability. A tuning fork does not argue with the other objects in the room. It simply vibrates at its true frequency, and the objects capable of resonance begin to respond. Some objects do not respond, and that is not failure. It is simply frequency reality. Not every person in your life will be able to meet you at the level you are now vibrating at, and the grace of this phase is learning to release the need for them to do so, not with coldness, but with the deep and compassionate understanding that everyone is on the timeline they are on. And your mission is not to drag others out of theirs, but to be so fully aligned with yours that those who are ready for the resonance can find it through your presence. The fifth phase is learning to trust the architecture of your timeline, not passively, not in resignation, but in the deepest possible recognition that what appeared to be delays were actually precise alignments, that what felt like wrong turns were frequency recalibrations that prepared you for what you could not have received without them. The silence you walked through was not abandonment, it was initiation. The loss you endured sharpened your compassion beyond what comfort ever could. The confusion you carried taught you to navigate by inner knowing rather than external validation, which is the only navigation system capable of holding a starseed mission. You were not delayed. You were being prepared. And the preparation is complete. Every master tradition that has ever carried spiritual wisdom has known this. The desert the mystic walks through before the vision. The dark night the contemplative endures before the dawn. The wilderness the prophet moves through before the clarity. These are not punishments. They are not tests designed by a capricious universe to see how much pain you can absorb. They are the specific conditions required to develop the depth, the compassion, the unshakable inner knowing that a mission of this magnitude requires. You cannot carry light into the dark places of the world if you have never been in the dark. You cannot offer genuine compassion to those who are lost if you have never been lost. The preparation was not what happened to you before the mission began. The preparation was the mission in its early form, teaching you through direct experience what no amount of comfort could have taught. The sixth phase is this: receiving. Allowing the recognition that what the High Council celebrated was not some future version of you crossing a finish line. They celebrated this, now. The moment of your actual, embodied, present tense return to remembrance. The Source did not smile at a projection. It smiled at what is already here, at the frequency you are already carrying, at the courage it took to incarnate in density and still find your way back to light, at the fact that you did not give up, even when giving up would have been the easier choice. Even in the moments when you came very close, there is something profound about this phase that deserves to be held with the full attention it warrants. Most of the spiritual seeking that human beings engage in is future-oriented. It is aimed at a destination, a version of themselves they have not yet reached, a state of awareness they believe will finally make them whole. And there is nothing wrong with the aspiration. But the deepest recognition available in this phase is that the wholeness being sought is not ahead of you. It is not waiting in the version of you who has meditated for 10,000 more hours, or released every last thread of shadow, or finally achieved the state of continuous bliss. The wholeness is present, right now. In this moment of genuine turning toward truth, in the courage it takes to acknowledge that you feel something real when these transmissions land, that the frequency they carry is recognizable to something deep inside you, that the journey you have been on, however it has looked, however imperfect and confused and human, has been building toward exactly this. The Source does not require you to be finished before it celebrates your return. The prodigal soul is celebrated the moment it turns toward home, not the moment it arrives at the door, not the moment it delivers a full accounting of where it has been and what mistakes it made, but the moment it turns. That turning is already complete in you. The celebration has already begun. You are already in it. The seventh phase, and this is where the full transmission lands, is integration. It is the quiet, powerful work of living from what you now know, rather than reaching for what you once sought. It is building a life that matches your frequency, making choices that honor your galactic blueprint, releasing relationships, environments, and identities that require you to be less than you are, not with judgment, not with urgency, but with the calm certainty of someone who has finally stopped arguing with their own soul. Integration is perhaps the least dramatic and most important of all the phases, because it is where the awakening becomes real in the most tangible sense. It is one thing to have a profound recognition during a moment of stillness, during a transmission like this one, during a sacred ceremony or a deep meditation. It is another thing entirely to carry that recognition into the ordinary fabric of daily life, and allow it to change what you choose, how you speak, where you place your energy, what you allow to remain in your field, and what you finally, gently, permanently release. Integration is the bridge between the mystical and the mundane, and it is the work that actually transforms the world. Because the world is not changed by peak experiences alone. It is changed by people who have integrated their awakening into the way they live, the way they love, the work they bring into the world, the presence they carry into every ordinary Tuesday. This means making choices that might look, from the outside, like retreat. Leaving behind the roles that were never truly yours, stepping away from environments that required your compression, declining invitations that would cost you your frequency. But from the inside, from the perspective of the integrated soul, these are not retreats. They are alignments. They are the quiet declarations of a being who has stopped performing an identity it never actually was and begun inhabiting the one it has always carried beneath the surface. Here is the truth that was always here, waiting for the moment you were ready to receive it. You are not on your way to becoming someone awakened. You are already the awakened one who chose to arrive slowly enough to bring others with you. Your journey through density, through doubt, through forgetting, it was not a detour from your mission. It was the mission. Because every starseed who finds their way back to frequency from within the deepest forgetting creates a pathway that others can follow. You're not just waking up, you are lighting a corridor. And those who are still in the dark are already beginning to feel the warmth of the direction you've turned. The corridor you light is not built from the moments when your awakening felt effortless and clear. It is built from exactly the moments that felt hardest, when you chose to remain open despite the dismissal, when you chose to trust your knowing despite the noise of the world's disagreement, when you chose to keep moving through the silence even though the silence felt indistinguishable from abandonment. Every one of those moments is encoded into the pathway you are creating, and when another soul reaches that same stretch of darkness, the light you left there will be waiting. Not as a dramatic illumination, but as a warmth, a subtle but unmistakable sense that someone else walked here before them and made it through. That is the nature of the corridor. That is what your incarnation and all its complexity and beauty and difficulty and grace is building. You did not choose this mission because it was easy. You chose it because you were built for exactly this density, this era, this particular constellation of challenges and opportunities that this moment in Earth's evolution carries. And the fact that you are here, receiving this, feeling the frequency of this transmission land in your body as something known and true, that is not the beginning of your mission. That is the mission arriving at the fullness of itself. Tonight, if you are still, if you place one hand over your heart and allow the body to receive what the mind has been slowly opening to, say this and mean it. I remember who I am. I align with my star origin. I activate my soul mission with grace and clarity. Let those words settle into the body, not as affirmation, but as recognition. As the moment of frequency finally names itself, let them move through you, not as a script, but as a homecoming. Feel the difference between repeating words and inhabiting them. The difference between saying, I remember who I am as a hope and saying it as a fact, that the body knows before the mind has finished forming the thought. Because that is the difference between seeking and arriving, between reaching and receiving, between the version of you that was circling the edges of your awakening and the version that has finally, with both feet and full breath, stepped into the center of it. This is that moment, right now. This is the center. Before you move forward, stay here just a moment longer. Drop one intention in the comments. Something real, something you're ready to anchor into this moment. And then find someone else's intention and offer them something genuine. Energy does not simply accumulate. It amplifies through connection. What you send out here becomes part of the field this entire community is building together. If this message reached something true inside you, share it. Someone in your world is waiting for exactly this activation, and they may not find it unless you bring it to them. And if you felt the pull to stay in this frequency, to keep receiving transmissions from this space, subscribe and remain in the flow. You are not just watching, you are expanding. This is your space, and we are just getting started.